Donald Trump supporters, they had an event in Philadelphia that was supposedly focused on Black for Trump. Now, it was in a conservative area, largely white area. And it was led by Byron Downs of Florida and Wesley of Texas. It was called Congress, Cognac, and Cigars. Yeah. Okay. Now, check this out. Now, Michelle Tafoya, formerly, of course, sideline reporter for Monday Night Football, she was the one moderating this conversation and about Black's Republican Party. Don't ask me why. Now, there was no videotape of this, but the Philadelphia Inquirer reported that Donald made some comments about Black life during Jim Crow. This was the quote from the Philadelphia Inquirer, quoting Byron Downs. You see, during Jim Crow, the Black family was together. During Jim Crow, more Black people were not just conservative. Black people have always been conservative-minded, but more Black people voted conservatively. And then H.E.W., Lyndon Johnson, you go down that road, and now we are where we are. Well, that did not sit quite well with New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. He took to the floor of Congress to blast Downs.
Mr. Speaker, it has come to my attention that a so-called leader has made the factually inaccurate statement that Black folks were better off during Jim Crow. That's an outlandish, outrageous, and out-of-pocket observation. We were not better off when a young boy named Emmett Till could be brutally murdered without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when Black women could be sexually assaulted without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be systematically lynched without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when children could be denied a high-quality education without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be denied the right to vote without consequence because of Jim Crow. How dare you make such an ignorant observation? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Well, Donald heard what Jeffries had to say, and this was his response.
America, Joe Biden's campaign is lying to you once again, and they're gaslighted. Now they're trying to say that I said Black people were doing better under Jim Crow. I never said that. They are lying. But why would you be surprised? Because they always lie. This is the same Joe Biden that said, if you don't vote for him, then you ain't Black. The man is a liar. Sorry, just call it what it is. What I said is that you had more Black families under Jim Crow, and it was the Democrat policies under H.E.W., under the welfare state, that did help to destroy the Black family. That's what I said. And I also said you're seeing a reinvigoration of Black families today in America, and that is a good thing. So don't listen to the lies from the Biden administration. I know what I said, and I'll say it straight to camera. They got to run to the Philadelphia Inquirer to move their lies. Joe Biden does not care about Black people. He never has. He cares about power, first, second, and third. They can go somewhere with all that. See ya.
Really? First of all, Congressman Donalds, if you have an issue, you take issue with the reporting of the Philadelphia Inquirer. And if you say that's not what you said, okay, produce us an audio recording. Produce us a video recording of exactly what you said during that, if you're disputing what the reporting is. See, I need everybody to understand this is the game. So instead of Donalds criticizing the Philadelphia Inquirer, and because y'all notice what he did not do. If he claims I didn't say that, you notice he did not demand a correction from the Philadelphia Inquirer. He's criticizing the Biden campaign, who is simply remarking on what was reported in the Philadelphia Inquirer. But anytime if y'all want to see the folks who play games, all you have to tell is he never demanded a correction from the Philadelphia Inquirer. That's when you know he actually said what he said, Robert, and that is grossly indefensible.
This is part of the mythology that many of the Black conservative movement have taken up to believing this idea that Black folks were somehow better off prior to the civil rights movement, prior to integration, prior to any of the legal framework that we call the civil rights and the voting rights movement. There's this idea on the conservative side of the aisle that, well, if we could just go back to the good old days, before we had voting rights, before we had integration, we had stronger families. We had Stockholm syndrome. We had strong families because we didn't have no choice. We had no upward mobility. The reason that the marriage rates were so high because Black women couldn't have bank accounts, could not attend institutions of higher education, could not have a mortgage, could not buy a car on their own. The reason that we lived together because you had redlining and you had blockbusting. You were closing together Black communities to the point that they could not leave. The kind of fantasy world that many Black conservatives have decided to inhabit, where we were all just after slavery, sitting around whistling happy as who knows what. I wish they would just take that and rewind it all the way back to the radical Republican Congress from 1865 to 1876. If you're going to say things were so much better prior to the civil rights movement, then just say, I'm going to take up the Republican platform that existed under the radical Republicans, and we're going to push for reparations for Black folks in this country, because that was a Republican initiative. If you're going to say Black folks voted more conservatively prior to the 1940s and the 1950s, we'll take it all the way back. Take it all the way back and say we're going to enforce Sherman's Field Order number 15. We're going to enforce what Senator Stevens said on the floor of the House of Representatives, that we are going to take that promise of 40 acres and a mule, and we're going to distribute that to everyone in this country, everyone who is of an African-American descendant, of the descent of those who were enslaved in this nation. But to simply say, well, things were great prior to Black people having rights is exactly the type of African American that Donald Trump likes to point to and say, that's my African American. And as these people are jockeying for position to be the next vice president of the United States, as Congressman Donald and Tim Scott and others are, they have to remember that the statements they put and that they use on record right now are going to be used against other Black people in the future. We just saw the Fearless Fund. They're using the Civil Rights Act to deny them the ability to help Black businesses. These words and these actions have consequences, and maybe Byron Donald will be the next Vice President of the United States of America, but he can't forget what he is doing to our communities on his way there.
See, this is the thing for me, Rebecca, that's always shameful and despicable when Byron Donalds, when that idiot Candace Owens, or any of these people say these things. They leave out the fact about the police dogs and the lynchings and the beatings. They leave out the fact that we were denied bank loans, denied housing loans. They leave out the fact that Black folks had to walk down the street, couldn't look white folks in the eye. They did not. So all those things. So if you want to talk about this small piece of what life was like for us during Jim Crow, I mean, you could literally make the argument that the Black nuclear family there was a strong bond during slavery, because we were working together every single day, side by side, with mother and father and children, and we were together, and we lived in one room, and we ate together, and we prayed together. I mean, if we want to go there, I mean, that's literally what we could say. But then you leave out all the other stuff that was going on. Sorry, Congressman Donalds is full of shit.
So first of all, Byron, I need to know who your people are. Now, you were born and raised in Brooklyn. So I'm assuming that if your people came by way of the Northern migration and the migration routes of how many Black folks ended up in New York, my guess is they probably came from South Carolina, North Carolina, maybe the Low Islands, going a little bit further south into Georgia, perhaps, maybe. I need to know who your grandma, your auntie, your uncles are, because I can guarantee you they would not agree with what you said. Second of all, what you just said on camera means that you are dumb, you're an idiot, or maybe I'll be charitable and say you are diseased in the mind. And this is why. Byron, you literally just said that Black families can attribute strong Black families to Jim Crow. That simply does not make sense. You are trying to correlate two separate things and try to have causation. And I'll explain what I mean by that. In the summer, ice cream sales go up. In the summer, crime goes up. Just because ice cream sales and crime both goes up in the summer doesn't mean that eating of ice cream leads to someone committing crime. That's not how it works. So just because you are making the argument that Black families, from your perspective, were stronger in the 50s and 60s doesn't mean that we can or should attribute it to Jim Crow. Simply, your mind is diseased to even jump and say that oppression is what made Black families stronger. That is not the case. I understand that you claim that you grew up in a Black broken home, you went to FAMU, then you transferred to Florida State, you married into a white conservative family, and now all of a sudden white ICE is better. But let's be clear, just because you said those things, which the Philadelphia Inquirer rightly attributed to you, you then go on camera saying, oh, I'm going to say it to their face, I'm going to say it to the camera. What you actually said on camera sounds even more stupid and idiotic than what the Philadelphia Inquirer said that you said. So if anything, you should thank them that they didn't expose your idiocy around this issue. And quite frankly, you are lost.
All right, so here's the deal. Before I go to Scott, so Byron Donald says he's blasted the Biden campaign, saying they didn't do it. Well, guess what? It was reported. There is video. And the Biden folks just posted it. Control room, if y'all have it, let's play it. If you don't have it yet, okay, if you don't have it yet, Scott, go with your... Scott, go with your comment, and then we're gonna play the video. You actually hear Byron Donalds in his own words in a 26-second clip from that conversation.
I'll only add to my colleagues. I guess we was better together doing Jim Crow because we had stronger family, but we couldn't. You go to jail and you couldn't walk down the street, you couldn't vote, you couldn't get a job, couldn't get educated, but we were together as a family. You know, every time these dumbass Republicans, one, they don't do their research, and they just ignorant. It just, sometimes, I know what you say, Roland, you say, you got to call this out, Scott. But sometimes this stuff is so ignorant, it's just not even worth talking about. My colleague said it best. And by the way, if we were stronger as a family, our socioeconomic problems weren't there, but we weren't stronger as a family. We weren't stronger because of the socioeconomic and health disparities that still exist in America today. They were worse doing Jim Crow. So stop it. Just dumbass comments. That's all I got to say.
All right. So here's the actual video of Byron Donalds.
You see, during Jim Crow, the Black family was together.
That's right.
During Jim Crow, more Black people were not just conservative, because Black people always have been conservative-minded, but more Black people voted conservatively. And then H.E.W, Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened in the
He said, doesn't sound like he was misquoted.
Sounds to me like he was quoted correctly. So
Right.
Byron Donalds, you're lying.
You get your Black history education from Ron DeSantis. This is why they want to get rid of CRT. This is why they want to get rid of DEI. They want to keep us all that damn dumb. They want us all to walk around here scratching when we ain't itching, laughing when we ain't tickled. That's the exact archetype for a Black man that they want in this country. One that's completely disconnected from his history, disconnected from Elaine, Arkansas, disconnected from Tulsa, Oklahoma, disconnected from the bloody summer of 1919. Someone who's completely disconnected from all aspects of American history besides what has been regurgitated and spewed back to him as patriotism. He wants us all to take that Ron DeSantis history course where, we were all just on the plantation having a good time. And then these northern aggressors came in to destroy the southern way of life. And we fought the good fight, but maybe we'll rise again. But then as soon as we ended that horrible Reconstruction, And our brothers and sisters in the Ku Klux Klan decided to come together to liberate us and to arm us and protect us from other groups. That is when the black family was the strongest. That's the version of history that Byron Donald has been indoctrinated into and that he will like the rest of us to believe in. And if you believe that version of history, then no, we don't need voting rights. No, we don't need a Civil Rights Act. We don't need diversity, equity, and inclusion. We don't need affirmative action. Everything was great back when we had the proper American social structure of white supremacy on top, and then a couple of us get to prosper at the foot of white supremacy from the crumbs from the table, but the rest of us will be in subjugation. That is the Donald version of Black American history.
Y'all, again, I just love the people who say, I didn't say it. What'd you say, Scott?
What's worse about that video, real quick, Roland, is that there were other black conservatives listening to him saying, right.
Well, actually, not really, because we don't really know who was in the room. First of all, here's what we do know.
Okay.
According to the Philadelphia Inquirer,
I thought it was a conservative event.
No. According to Philadelphia Inquirer, half of the people who were in the room weren't even from Philadelphia. They came in for it. It's no different than when Donald's hosted an event in South Carolina, and it was supposedly a Black Republican event, South Carolina, and there were like 5 in the room. So again, you hear this one thing, but it's another.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.